प्रसीदति एवं प्रसन्न मनसो भगवद्भक्तियोगतः भगवद्तत्त्वविज्ञानं मुक्तसङ्गस्य जायते विद्यते हृदय ग्रन्थिश्चिद्यन्ते सर्वसंशयान् क्षीयन्ते चास्य कर्माणि दृष्ट एवात्मनेश्वरे ओमज्ञानातिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम् वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तां सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेशा गोपिका कान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौरभक्तवृन्द हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे ओं विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणी निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणी Hare Krishna devotees, please welcome to the morning Bhagavatam class, Saturday's morning class. Today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 7, text 32, 33 and 34. And chapter 7 titled as Vidura's Further Inquiries by Vidura. We'll read the Sanskrit first. Dharmartha kama mokshana nimittani avirodhata vartaya danda nitischa shrutasya cha vidim pratak one more time. Dharmartha kama mokshana nimittani avirodhata vartaya danda nitischa shrutasya cha vidim pratak. Synonyms, word to word. Dharma, religiosity. Artha, economic development. Kama, sense gratification. Mokshana, salvation. Nimittani, causes. Avirodhata, without being contradictory. Vartaya, on the principles of the means of livelihood. Danda, nite, of the law and order. Cha, also. Shrutasya, of the codes of the scriptures. Cha, also. Vidhim, regulations. Pratak, different. Translation. By this verse, there is no purport. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. You may also describe the non-contradictory causes of religiosity, economic development, sense gratification, and salvation, and also the different means of livelihood and the different processes of law and order, as mentioned in the revealed scripture. I'll read the translation one more time. You may also describe the non-contradictory causes of religiosity, economic development, sense gratification and salvation, and also the different means of livelihood and different processes of law and order, as mentioned in the revealed scriptures. So in this chapter 7, as the title actually mentions, further inquiries by Vidura. Vidura asked so many questions to Maitreya, and specifically in this particular section, the section is from 21 to 38. There are many more questions. In fact, this section also is again subsection is named again as Vidura's further inquiries. So for last 2 days, Grace Shatrugopal Mataji and His Grace Sri Kishore Prabhu have been discussing few of the topics that Vidura was asking Maitreya Muni to elaborate on. So Shatrugopal Mataji has explained that he was asking about Varnashrama Dharma and great sages and Vedic divisions in that verse, and Yoga, Yajna, Jnana, and Sankhya, as well as Narada Panchaka. So these are the topics he asked us to explain. Mataji was explaining, and yesterday Sri Kishore Prabhu elaborated on imperfections of faithless entities, crossbreeding, and movements of living entities in various species of life as per their work and the modes. So that is the context, and so also I would like to further discuss on why Vidura Muni is asking so many questions. There could be many reasons, and some of the explanations are given in the same chapter, Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 7, text 40 and 41. Vidura himself talks about it. Just go to the text 40 and 41. In text 40, Vidura is telling to Maitreya Muni, "My dear sage, I have put all these questions before you with a viewpoint to know the pastimes of Hari, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You are the friend of all, so kindly describe them for all those who have lost their vision." So this is text 40. And this is the point yesterday I think Kishore Prabhu was also explaining. So pure devotee always wants to connect to Krishna, and he wants to always hear about Krishna and glorify about Krishna. And naturally, Vidura is a pure devotee of the Lord. He wants to know about the Lord, and he wants to hear about the Lord, and he wants to hear the glorification about the Lord from other devotees. So in that respect, he's asking questions about the creation, the Sankhya philosophy, or apparently seemingly random topics, but he wants to know everything in connection with the Lord. So that's what he's explaining in the text 40 of the same chapter, that, "My dear sage, I have to put all these questions before you with a view to know the pastimes of Hari." So yesterday I like the analogy Prabhu was talking about, these apparently different topics, so-called material topics of the creation and the planets and Varnashrama Dharma. These are all he was considering it as topics in the horizontal plane, like the plane that we are living currently, right? Whereas the topics about the Lord are in the vertical plane because they'll take us to the higher dimensions, particularly the spiritual world. So now Vidura is asking all these horizontal topics, trying to align them, those horizontal planes, to connect it, align them to the vertical planes, connected to the Lord. So that is one of the purpose of asking all these questions. And the next purpose is explained in text 41. O spotless one, your answers to all these questions will grant impunity from all material miseries. Such charity is greater than all Vedic charities, sacrifices, penances, etc. So this is profound here. O spotless one, your answers to all these questions will grant immunity from all material miseries. So actually, Vidura, before actually beginning these discussions with one of the question he asks is why the people in this material world are suffering, right? He asks why they have to go through all these difficulties. So now, in a way, he himself is answering his own question here, saying that answers to all these questions apparently material topics, but in relation with Krishna, these are the ones which would grant immunity from all miseries to everybody, all the living entities, right? So, and answers to these questions, the person who provides these questions, answers to these questions, is Viduramani referring to as is a great charity. Such a charity is greater than all Vedic charities, sacrifices, and penances. So that means, in a way, we can see the connection here. Vidura asking all these questions makes the content of Srimad Bhagavatam in a sense, right? So discussing about Srimad Bhagavatam and talking about Srimad Bhagavatam and speaking to others about Srimad Bhagavatam itself is it's a great charity, and the charity is better than all Vedic charities, sacrifices, and penances. So, in this context, since Bhadra Purnima is coming, so this is a very good inspirational verse for trying to distribute Srimad Bhagavatam and giving this particular charity to everyone, right? And as Bhagavatam itself, Vidura himself is telling here, this charity is greater than all Vedic charities, sacrifices, and penances. So that was interesting. And yeah, and also as Shadrip Mataji was explaining day before yesterday, these questions form the basis for Maitreya Muni to elaborate about topics about Kapila Muni, right? And Kapila Muni, specifically the topics of Sankhya philosophy as enunciated by Kapila Muni, which is theistic Sankhya philosophy, in contrast to the atheistic Sankhya philosophy. Right. And yeah. Also, one reason we could see why Kapila Muni, why Vidura is asking all these questions is probably Krishna's inspiration when he met Maitreya Muni. He was actually supposed to ask what was the discussion between Krishna and Uddhava, right, in the forest. But he actually doesn't ask that question directly. He asks so many other questions, right? So maybe this is the inspiration of the Lord. In fact, I was remembering the verse, Bhagavad Gita chapter 15:15, that goes like, Sarvasya chaham priti sannivishta matta smrtir jnanam apohanam cha vedescha sarvai rahameva vedya vedanta krit veda videsha cha. So this verse says that Krishna is telling, I am seated in everyone's heart, and from me comes remembrance, knowledge, and forget. So probably Vidura Muni is inspired to speak, ask all these questions by the super soul. Right? So this is one of the reasons. So there could be many other reasons actually, and we could also see uh, the same inspiration actually guides even Arjuna asks so many questions in Bhagavad Gita. I think it's 17 questions, if I remember correctly, 17 or 18, I forgot. And also entire Bhagavatam is based on the questions by sages of Naimisharanya. So this is again Krishna's inspiration, so that entire Bhagavatam is to be spoken. So now delving onto the actual questions itself. So here, today 3 verses, and the first verse 32 is asking, you may also describe the non-contradictory causes of religiosity, economic development, and sense gratification and salvation. So this is pertaining to the first 2 lines, dharmartha kama moksha nimittani avirodhitam. Like he wants all these topics to be described uh, in alignment with the Lord and the Lord's plan and Lord's creation, not in a contradictory way. Because we can discuss these topics in many ways, and things could be not in a proper place, and one thing could be contradicting to another thing. So now he is asking here, make everything anvaya, means in alignment with the Lord. So that's the word he's using as non-contradictory, avirodhita. And also he's asking about different means of livelihood and different process of law and order as mentioned in the revealed scripture. Because in revealed scripture, so many topics, all these topics could be contradicted. But here he is specifically asking, talk about those non-contradictory causes of these topics. We will move on to the next verse, 33. It has purport also. Shraddhasya cha vidhim brahman pitrinam sargameva ja griha nakshatra taranam kala avayava samsthitim. Synonyms: Shraddhasya, of the periodical offerings of respects. Shraddhasya, of the periodical offerings of respects. Cha, also with him regulations. Brahman, O Brahmana, Pitrinam, of the forefathers, Sargam, creation. Eva, as Cha, also Griha, planetary system. Nakshatra, the stars. Tarana, luminaries. Kala, time. Avayava, the duration. Samsthitim, situations. Translation: please also explain the regulations for offerings, respects to the forefathers, the creation of the Pitraloka, the time schedule in the planets, stars, and luminaries, and their perspective situations. Purport: the time durations of the day and night, as well as months and years, are different in the different planets, stars, and luminaries. The higher planetaries, the higher planets, like the moon and Venus, have the time measurements different from those of the Earth. It is said that 6 months of this planet Earth equal to 1 day of the higher planets. In the Bhagavad Gita, the duration of 1 day in Brahmaloka is measured to be 1000 times the 4 yugas, or 4,300,000 years multiplied by 1000. And the month and year in Brahmaloka are calculated with that measure. Shri Radha Shyama Sundara ki Jai. So, translation I will read again. Please also explain the regulations for offering respects to the forefathers, the creation of the Pitraloka, the time scheduling the planets, stars, and luminaries, and their respective situation. Prabhupada focuses on the time here, and certainly time is very intriguing, and very interesting topic. So, from the scriptures, from the revealed scriptures, it is known fact that the time measures differently in different planetary systems, right? It's relative. And for example, Prabhupada is giving here is Moon and the Venus. So from these planets, 1 day of these planets is equal to 6 months of in the earthly time. And also from Bhagavad Gita, it is mentioned that 1 day of Brahma so is equal to 1000 times the 4 yugas. So which is 4 trillion, right? 300 million cycles, 4 trillion cycles. So, yeah. So I was just thinking we may not exactly observe this phenomena, or we may be observing, I don't know how, because recently the Indian government has launched Chandrayaan Mission 3. So the rover must be sending some pictures and all. I don't know how they are getting the pictures, and is there a time dilation by the time those pictures come there and here? Maybe not. I don't know exactly how the physical dimension of the time works in term because many times it was mentioned that the way higher planet system works in the higher dimensions, the material I may not have access to those higher dimensions and higher time dimensions. So that is the one of the reasons. And the question of Vidura itself, or the topic that he is asking to elaborate itself, very diverse. He's talking about different planetary systems, particularly here, the Pitralokas, and how to offer offerings to those Pitralokas. He wants to know the regulations of that specific ritual, and also the time in the different planetary systems and stars and luminaries and their respective situations. That means he wants to know about the locations also, I think, situations. That is the universal form and where different planetary systems are located. We will move on to the next verse, the last verse of today. Danasya tapovavi yachesta Murtayo phalam pravasa stasya yo dharmo yascha pumsa uda apadi. Translation. Please also describe the fruitive results of charity and penance and of digging reservoirs of water. Please describe the situation of persons who are away from home and also the duty of a man in an awkward position. These questions are so diverse. And Prabhupada is specifically talking about two of these aspects. That is, the digging of reservoirs of water for public use is a great work of charity. And retiring from family life after 50 years of age is a great act of penance performed by the sober human being. So apparently, particularly in olden days, I remember whenever there is a charity work, means digging wells comes in the almost at the front, digging wells, planting trees, and so I hope even now that it is like that. But now water has become a kind of a utility that we pay and we get the water. Maybe in olden days it was given free in charity. So by digging the wells, and rich people and the kings, they provide water to the citizens like that. But now It's mainly you pay and get the water. And in some countries, even if you pay, also we won't get water. That is the situation. Yeah. And another interesting topic here is please describe the result of fruitive results of charity and penance and digging of reservoirs of water. So the verse itself is talking about the charity, danasya and tapasya and penance. Vapi. Vapi is a specific form of danasya, which is digging reservoirs of water. And yeah, also the verse is talking about a person who has taken the it's actually in the last two stages of life, vanaprastha and sannyasa ashram. Pravasastasya. Pravasa means moving around, right? So generally in Vedic culture, at the age 50 and beyond, they take vanaprastha ashram and further sannyasa ashram, but start with vanaprastha ashram, they start traveling, right? They do travel and they do a lot of pilgrimage. They go on pilgrimage. Basically, they do a lot of penances. So that's what Prabhupada is also talking about here. Retiring from family life after 50 years of age is a great act of penance performed by the sober human. This is a cultured human being does this kind of penances, leaving home. But nowadays, probably it may not be practical. But what is more practical is staying and associating with the temple and serving in the temple. That is itself is a penance. Serving in the temple and serving the Vaishnavas and the devotees. When we get older, so we can reduce our materialistic pursuits and then increase our spiritual pursuits in connection with the temple, wherever we are associated with. So maybe that we can consider as vanaprastha ashram for us. Then another important word here is, Prabhupada is not explaining in purport, which is uta apadi. That is, what is the duty of a man in awkward position? Prabhupada translates it awkward, but in danger. He actually translates in the synonyms as in danger. That is, in general, people are all in danger, the danger of crossing the material existence, struggle for existence. So what is the duty of a person who is in danger? Specifically, I don't know why he's asking this very question, but he's asking, what is the duty of a person who is in Pumsa Uda Apadi? Apada is even in Telugu also it is a danger. So Uda Apadi means the person who is in danger, what is the duty? So probably, as I said in the beginning, all these questions in a way they're connected, give an impetus to Maitreya Muni to talk about the Lord and his creation and Sankhya philosophy eventually by Kapila Muni, and connect them all these dots ultimately to the Lord and give rise to detailed descriptions in the Bhagavatam. So we can all learn and absorb in the topics of Srimad Bhagavatam. So I will. One more point I want to connect here. So in Bhagavad Subodhini of Canto 3, Gauranga Darshan Prabhu actually gives where does these particular topics of Vidura is addressed further in the Bhagavatam, particularly into today's topics, 32, for the 32 verse, the 4 Purusharthas and the rules of profession and for punishment. Canto 3, chapter 25 and 33 will address that. 25 to 32. And Canto 5, chapter 17 addresses 17, 19 and 26. Also in Cantos 7 and 11. So basically these topics keep on pervading all over the Bhagavad. It's not just Maitreya Muni's answers. Actually, it further goes beyond. Also, text 33 topics: death rites, pithrus, and constellation, and arrangements and divisions of time. They are discussed in Canto 3, Chapter 11, and Chapter 31. Canto 5, Chapter 21 to 22. Canto 7, Chapter 11 to 15. And Canto 11, Chapter 22. Similarly, the last verse of today, 34, charity, austerity, and sacrifice, and duties of different situations. That is, the persons in the danger, and also persons who take sannyas ashram and right. For them, the topics were discussed in Canto 3 and Canto 11 and Canto 7. So, yeah, I just want to mention so that to complete where these topics are elaborated in the Srimad Bhagavatam. With that, I'm done for today. Just want to conclude in the context of Vidura Muni asking different topics to elaborate Maitreya Muni. He's asking different questions. So particularly for the today's question, he asked about the time and how time works in different planetary systems. And he talked about Pitrulokas, and he talked about charity, penance, and digging reservoirs of water. What is the results of these activities? And also he's talking about the duties of the people who are in the Vanaprastha ashram, sannyasa ashram, and also a person who is under danger. Right? So with that, I'll conclude. And if any of you want to add or discuss further chant these topics, please go ahead. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much. It's very, too many questions actually. I was looking at it. There are 40 questions, I think, in this section. Indra is asking Maitreya in next, next few verses. It looks like there is no relation, directly to each of them. But then actually, I was thinking how Maitreya Muni will remember all the questions to answer this. So yeah, so many questions. So he was keep asking without. Multiple places in Bhagavatam it happens, right? Question after question being asked, but the answers are given maybe after the person asks all the questions. So in a kind of actually, Vidura says, okay, whatever I did not ask, also please tell. I might have missed in this context some questions. Please elaborate those questions also. And then I was thinking about that. I don't know, awkward position. I think a person in danger. So I was also thinking. I didn't look at the Sanskrit until you mentioned about it. So I was thinking, what is this awkward position? So, yes.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Actually, I just want to bring up one point. I was thinking when you were speaking about how Vidura is asking that how time works in different planets. I was remembering the movie I watched with my sons, Interstellar, and they're showing how the time is moving differently on different planets. So I was thinking, do they get the information from our scriptures and then make it?
Yes. Yeah. Yes. I'm sure that concept is there probably, and obviously our scriptures support that idea.
Yeah, because in the movie also they show that the person goes to another planet which is full of water,
Yes.
and then they stay there just for 10 minutes, and here 10 years have passed on Earth.
Yeah. Sure. Thank you very much for bringing that point.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Yeah. And it's always mind-boggling talking about time, right? It's very difficult to comprehend. but it is a fact. So probably we have to tune to that new understanding instead of just depending on our own experience in this world.
Yes, Prabhu. Time is the most difficult thing to comprehend, actually. Yeah.
And
Hare Krishna Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. May I ask a practical question?
yes,
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for bringing the whole context. It was a nice discussion. And you were mentioning about this Vanaprastha, just this thought was coming. You mentioned, though we may have different material pursuits, slowly as we grow older, we would have to shift that fulcrum from more material aspects to more spiritual endeavors and stay here and serve in the temple. So I was connecting this to, we generally here in India don't worry about spirituality or religion. When you are young, you have so many responsibilities to take care of the things. And when you're old, then you can do whatever you want, Krishna Rama, whatever they say. When you're speaking, I know the context is different and we keep hearing it doesn't work that way. So that is why we have to cultivate that from very young age. But what I have been seeing of late, not only with myself, but in general with everyone, and maybe particularly here in America, even if we want to, we just cannot, free ourselves from that. There's so many obligations, some added by ourselves, some enforced by the society or the kids or whatever requirements we are in. So in that sense, I'm actually saying it's similar to that. Whatever has been said, okay, don't worry about it now, but when you grow older, you be more involved. So here also, even though we say we are chanting and we are serving, but the intensity has to grow. And as long as we are into that material aspirations, I don't know, it could be me. Maybe for others, they are seeing that advancement. But I feel I'm just being sucked into that. So I'm not really cultivating that deeper attachment to service or sadhana. So how do I expect when I grow older, suddenly get that attachment and I'll be able to completely dedicate myself either to temple or some other service?
yeah, probably you already know the answer.
Yeah, just wanted to hear and churn the topic. Yeah. Thank you.
Serving in a particular temple, that's just an idea. It doesn't have to be like that for everyone. Some people can go to places like Vrindavana. It's up to individual basically. What's their inspiration and what is the instructions they receive from their higher authorities. But I was just giving one example. Specifically in my mind was Premananda Mataji. So that is the example I took. So she has dedicated her life after taking retirement, right? So to serve in the temple. So I just took that example as a specific case, but it doesn't have to be necessarily for everyone like that. But the principle is, I think why Prabhupada wants to break the ice, because nowadays most of the people, they're not even thinking about any spiritual pursuit. They're only into the material pursuit. So with that endeavor, it's highly difficult to turn the switch suddenly at the age of 50. Right? So that is why he asks us to cultivate from the beginning. Okay, so that is for in general people, right? It doesn't work like suddenly switching on. But for devotees who are already practicing, it's a gradual switch in the sense we try to cultivate from the beginning. in the association of devotees, we still practice, and we have duties as well, and we connect those duties to the higher purpose to please the Lord, right? So in that sense, actually a devotee doesn't have a material life, but still we are not there yet. So still that division we can still maintain that, okay, these are material activities, these are spiritual activities. So even maintaining that also, it's a gradual progression, right? And gradual progression, hopefully, if not at 50, maybe at 60 or 70, we don't know. At some point, we will get complete conviction that my life is for Krishna, right? So that's where my thoughts are going. So for materialistic people, they try to do sudden switch, it won't happen. So don't, that's the typical in villages and all in India, they say, don't worry about spirituality now at the age 50 or when you become old. So it's a sudden switch. I don't think it's a practical one. So, but I don't think we have to worry about that situation. We are not in that one. For us, it's gradual. I think our Maharaj gives an example of a dimmer switch and what is that another one? Toggle switch. Right? So our situation more like a dimmer switch, I think.
I was thinking, provide. I mean, I didn't maybe quite got the question clearly, but anyway. So I was thinking, I was hearing this nectar of instruction from Hariparshad Prabhu's classes. Somebody was asking a question, so saying that, I mean, if I'm not going back to Godhead in this life, I might be doing something good, and I will go to higher planets. By the time I come back to Earth, this golden age will get over. What happens to me, and right? And also we hear a lot of times, so in this life we have to go back to Godhead, right? And Prabhu was saying that it's not going to happen, right? I mean, everybody is in a different positions, and we can't force people to. I mean, we can't force ourselves to go back to Godhead in this life. I mean, it's not going to happen. I mean, we'll be frustrated and then going somewhere else. So he was saying that, I mean, then he was giving the example from Ramayana. When Bharata meets Rama, he was asking, I think, I mean, are you engaged properly in Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha? I mean, why is he asking him if that is not, if it is not a good thing, right? So I mean, of course, but when we hear devotee circles, generally people say, oh, no, it is not right. Right, but Prabhu was saying that no, it is as per the religious principles. If somebody engaged, whatever situation they are, so I mean, everybody might be. I mean, we are not saying that we should engage in those, but they are there because they have the place in the system. But it's not nothing wrong in somebody is doing something as per the religious principles. If somebody is going against religious principles, of course, it is not right. But then we can't force everybody to go. Okay, yeah, we have to go in this life. I mean, of course, we need to try to attempt, but yeah, it is not going to work out. So I mean, I was just that thought was coming when we were reading the 32 verse as well.
Yes,
Right. So
that's a nice one. Yeah. Also, we have blessings of our spiritual teachers, spiritual masters, and Srila Prabhupada. So that's another conviction we can have actually. We strongly convinced that Prabhupada said in some places, right? That these activities, you are guaranteed to go back. Of course, if you do them properly, obviously we'll go back to Godhead. So maybe that's how Prabhupada is telling with his conviction on those principles of bhakti, that you follow bhakti properly, we'll go back to Godhead. There is no question. So
yesterday also we were hearing. I mean, bhakti is not. I mean, Sri Kishore was quoting Radha Maharaj. Bhakti is not the one gets it. Bhakti is given. What is that? Awarded. Yeah, bhakti is awarded. Yeah. So I mean, of course, we need to engage in the process, but yeah, and then it comes right by the Lord's mercy and Guru's.
is that okay? Is it?
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, very helpful and very comforting to the heart. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
I think we are beyond time. So thank you very much, devotees, for attending Srimad Bhagavatam reading. Vancha kalpatarubhyasya कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। हरे कृष्ण।